The Apple Bowl, 6,218, I believe, was the number, on a wet and cold Father's Day Sunday afternoon, with the CPL in town. I'm sure you did have discussions with Rob Friend, who, of course, is instrumental in the Vancouver franchise and a local resident, as well as those within the league. It's no secret that the league did give at least a cursory thumbs up for a potential franchise for Kelowna about a year and a half ago, I believe. Where does that sit? I'm sure you talked about that.
We did talk about it. I mean, it was Rob Friend was here, and as you had mentioned, and I'm so grateful for what Vancouver FC had gone through in order to bring that game to us, and also Calgary Calvary FC, for them to kind of come and play in this community. Mark Noonan, all of the executive from CPL was here. We had numerous discussions with regards to, is there potential? I think and this was a test case.
Yes.
It was really a test case to see, does the community have any interest? Mm-hmm. When we first looked at the tickets, we were looking at them at 1,000, and then they went to 1,200, then they went to 1,600, and they went to maybe under 2,000, and we're thinking, okay, well, about 3,800 is kind of where we need to get to see that there is some interest within the community. It went to 38 to 4 to 5 to 6 and over 6. And everyone that I had brief contact with at the game, even though the conditions, and it was probably one of the coldest days, I think it went on record as one of the coldest days back almost, 80 or 90 years.
116.
116 years. There was a lot of warmth in the Apple Bowl.
Yeah.
Everybody was pretty excited. I mean, it would have been just perfect if Vancouver would have closed out in those few minutes and scored that goal for us. Nothing against Calgary, but it would have been perfect if it ended up being they would have scored that. I think the community showed us that there would be interest in us continuing those conversations, and we're doing that.
For that to happen, I would presume there would have to be some serious upgrades to the Apple Bowl as well. An aging facility, which needs dressing rooms, washroom facilities, maybe a second grandstand perhaps. I know you've talked, and in your last column, you talked about, Kelowna's infrastructure when it comes to sports, and the fact that, we need more and also need to improve these facilities. Two in mind, the Apple Bowl being one, Elk Stadium being another, that are sorely in need of renovations. Those have to be on the radar.
They are. I mean, it's the Apple Bowl. The Falcons, for example, down at Elks. I mean, I've received numerous comments with regards to that. We were down there working on the sound system because we're looking at acquiring sound systems for the different venues. Interestingly enough, when I was at the Apple Bowl when Rob and I were out when we were speaking, there's a delayed reaction on that microphone. So you speak and you say something, and then 3 or 4 seconds later you hear your voice. So it's really difficult to kind of focus on it. It's tricky to kind of continue. You got to stay right in your head with what you're saying because you get distracted on it. So we're looking at sound systems for them, but we're looking at the overall facilities completely. I mean, Elk Stadium is one of them, the Apple Bowl is another. And do we look at those stadiums, or do we look at something a little bit different within the community, somewhere else, to potentially bring that type of venue to our city? So those are a lot of the discussions that are happening right now. We know that area of Elk Stadium, the badminton clubs, the curling clubs, all of that in the North End, what does that look like going into the future? How can it be as positive for those sports in the future? But yeah, there's some discussions to be had, and they are starting to happen.